for a second. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right, there we go. I can't blanked out here. What is going on? Check, check.
Roger.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
My video's not right. What's going on? Hold on. Do I have too much light? Oh, I think I got this light on back here. I have my dining room loaded with books. I'm in the middle of, well, I think I explained to you earlier, I'm in the middle of trimming things way back.
Yep.
There'll be, I'm telling you, there's going to be one couch, one table, a can, and 2 boxes of Christmas decorations in my house, and a mattress. That's it. I don't want anything else. It's all noise.
Yeah.
Paperwork gone. I have 1, 2. Well, I have to get a new desk for my bedroom, but I'll have 3 desks that'll be empty. So maybe I don't even need a 3rd desk.
No,
You know, I got a lot of medicine.
you got to trim that back.
Oh. No, I need to get the right medicine.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I need. The good stuff. This is all peripheral stuff. Vitamin B, really? What's that doing for me, right? I got vitamin B, I got iron. Hold on, iron is, I have, oh, you don't want to see the rest of it, but oh my God. So we asked everybody to get on early. Christian, Marcia, the mayor is here, you and me. You're only with us till 5:30?
Correct.
All right. We did ask everyone to get on though, right?
Yeah, Marcia's in.
Which is a good idea, just in case people. All right, just in case people. Do. I saw the email from Steve McCracken. Are they asking for 7 days a week parking meters? No,
That's what he's saying.
but we haven't heard that.
No, we've not. And I explained that that's going to require an ordinance change.
Hi, Strat,
Hello.
you're on. Can you try to speak?
Hello.
Okay, good. We can hear you.
Hello.
Hi,
Yes,
Strat,
Strat.
we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
No. Yeah, we can. Just kidding, Strat.
You can hear me?
Yes, Strat, we hear you. Can you hear us?
These numbers that were given to me, I don't have to call them in then, right? I'm already hooked up.
That's correct.
All right. I was worrying about that.
I know.
Thank you. So go ahead.
Well, we're not started yet. We're waiting, we got till 5 o'clock. Just want to get everybody on a little early.
Well, I'll just sit and wait now till we get started.
There you go. Where'd Eddie get that great picture? Is it, Christian, did you take that picture?
No, I did not. That was taken before I got here at the beginning of the administration where everyone got headshots.
Oh, I think I missed, did I miss that one?
Yeah,
Those photos, did I miss it?
a bunch of us did. Yes.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
can't
planning
look that good with Photoshop.
I'm planning on having one for everyone again, an update since the cabinet has changed and new members are coming in. So
That's
new
true.
headshots will be announced soon.
Eddie looks.
Well, you don't have a picture of me, do you?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I like my scenery shots better.
Well, the picture is actually for the website.
Yes, but
Oh,
people can keep them
okay.
for LinkedIn or any purposes.
Can I just send you a good picture I have of myself?
You don't want a new one? You can do that.
No,
Okay. Yes, you can
honestly,
send one.
no.
You can send one. That's totally fine.
I have a fairly decent one. I'm not about pictures of myself. I just need to let everyone know that it's not about me. And for me, it's more about, people don't need to look at me. They know what I look like. It's about what we do in the city and the beauty of nature. So Linda, you decided to attend this meeting and then Shirley's at the other one?
No, I'm going to be on till about 5:30, 5:35, and then I'm going to
Oh,
pop
that's right.
over.
That one starts at 6, so. Maybe we'll be done with this at 6. No, I doubt it.
Do, 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 do.
So Jeff, you're of an interesting background. I should pull up the one with the rainbow.
Well, you know, that
across
was the
city.
picture from my hotel room. When I lived in the
Yeah.
hotel, that was my view.
I don't know whether I'm gonna
Yeah, that
turn
was my
off my
view. That was
audio
like-
and my,
I thought both Jeff and Marcia were at the pagoda, different areas.
No, I'm not allowed up there.
Okay.
According to-
you're not seeing me. This
He said you had me
picture
banned or
is,
something. Eddie. He said you had me banned from the pagoda. I'm like, okay.
my pictures of the Smoky Mountains.
Oh, so
Well, you know, I don't go anywhere. I don't even leave Berks County, so you
Yeah,
get the city of Reading. I'm lucky to make it to the pagoda. That's a big trip for me.
Linda,
Yeah,
should I be getting any of this on my TV?
no,
Okay, because you know, well, never mind. 15 and 99 is totally blacked out, and that's the ones I used to use.
I'll check with Heather about that.
And by the way, I lie. I did make it to Dutch Wonderland a number of times this year, so I did get to Lancaster County. So for those who think I don't go anywhere, well, I get to go to UPenn. I'm down there tomorrow again, Eddie. That's always fun.
yeah, thank God we haven't had those visits on a weekly basis as we did at one point. It's
Yeah, I'm still
now
there.
every 6 months, so.
Yeah, I'm still there all the time.
Johanny, you look like a teacher.
I feel like a teacher. I got my red pen here ready. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you know, it's funny you say that. When I was in first grade, my first grade teacher, I was like her top student. And one time she gave me the papers to take home and correct, and she gave me the red pen. You know, you would put red C's on the paper. Well, I haven't been right since. We lived in a trailer. I went home, my little trailer bedroom. I had a cardboard box. I made a desk. I put my tongue in my cheek. She created a monster.
I bet.
And then one day I got in trouble in her class. She said, Jeffrey, go stand in the corner. And I was like, me? Jeffrey, me? Yeah, get in the corner. Oh, I was heartbroken, devastated. I haven't been right.
Why did she put you in the corner?
Probably talking.
Oh, okay.
What a surprise.
Yeah. Eddie, I could use a little cover here, okay? He's just like,
Linda.
all right, Linda. No, I don't remember what happened, but I was devastated because I was like her star pupil. And then, but she empowered me when she gave me that red pen. It was like, I got the red pen. Whew. Wow.
Yeah.
It was all downhill from there, but anyway. We lived up in the middle of Warnersville. I went to South Heidelberg Elementary. If anybody's familiar with where that used to be, it's now the township building, I believe.
When did you start hanging around Fifth and Spring?
Well, we moved back into the city. That was the first grade. I moved, went to Cedar Street, then we moved back over here to Douglas Street, third grade. Yeah, so, you know, we moved about 20 times, so it didn't really matter.
So Jeff, this is a picture that I see every night from across the street from my home of Reading.
That one there? That's very
Yeah, that's the
nice.
sunset over East Reading.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful city. I mean, oh, yeah.
Mhm. We're lucky we're up on the hill high enough that we can see the sunset.
Well, and we're getting ready to go into autumn, you know, where our area just flourishes. It's just so beautiful.
We have the most beautiful sunsets of any place I've ever been.
Well, you know, I've taken thousands and thousands of pictures just up at Antietam alone. I mean, it just unbelievable. It's the littlest of sites you can. When I used to travel, I know some of you travel more than I do, but every time I landed somewhere, I used to always say, oh, it's nice here, but you ought to see where I live.
Exactly.
I myself say that. This is a beautiful area.
Last night, the moon was just incredible as it was rising over. It was just one of those nights.
Yep.
Oh, no.
I mean, I like.
So now you
Four-
understand maybe why I don't want pictures of myself.
Well, I
Yeah.
like the Four Seasons, but I'm ready to move to an island, I think. I'm going to DR.
That they have a beautiful, oh, some of the jungle back there.
Well, DR, Puerto Rico, I'd get beat up either one of them. Probably. So.
John, I have to say, and I never thought I'd say this, Utah is a gorgeous state. I never was in Utah until a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, we're
phenomenal.
waiting on, we have Melissa, we have Brad, Lucine, Donna. I think we have everybody, right?
I think everyone is in.
So we will be prompt and turn it over to the mayor, who I believe is leading the show this evening. You know, I was explaining to both Abe and the mayor earlier, you know, this would be one of maybe some quarterly meetings. I'll certainly let the mayor lead into that, but we can try to get some stuff on the schedule on a regular basis. We can't do it every week. I know the mayor's listed out 5 or 6 critical areas. It'd be good if we can get through the top 3 tonight and touch on the other 3, but you know, there's so much you could focus on in one time. And I know they have a good plan and we all just need to make sure we're aware of their plan and find out how we can help. That's all we can do. I always tell the mayor, he's the mayor. I'm here to help get it done.
As I always say, we're in this together.
Definitely.
And I will acknowledge before we even start that if you see me looking up, I have a big screen in case I need to see a little closer. It's not that I'm asking God for some answers. So if you see me go like this, I'm not praying.
And I
I'm
do the
just-
same thing. I look from one device to another because one I have the agenda on, the other one is my screen.
Got it.
Okay, Mayor, the floor is yours, sir, if you want to get us started.
All right. So let's start off by saying good evening. And I want to thank each and every one of you, especially council and if there's any media, for making yourself available for this priority summit. Tonight's meeting is to discuss our administration top priorities moving forward. Please know that I want this to be a generative discussion with the intent on delivering openly on what we can do collaboratively. Even during the midst of challenges posed by COVID-19, the city has been able to provide services, as you know, for our residents with very limited interruptions. While we are not out of the woods and continue collaborating with partners to get our residents vaccinated, we acknowledge how it has impacted personnel, the execution of some public services, and has resulted in delays at times, unfortunately. Tonight, I wish to present to you our priorities moving forward and want to fully engage in a creative problem solving and identifying community resources where necessary. As we all know, city government doesn't always assist alone. It's in order to tackle these difficult issues such as crime, blight, home ownership, and workforce development, we need to engage our community's buy-in. When I campaigned back in 2019, I focused on several foundational pillars: safe streets and safe neighborhoods, education and workforce development, community and economic development, and responsible leadership. That hasn't changed, and we continue. Although we had this little thing called COVID that put a little stop, it didn't stop us though. So tonight we will focus on 6 priorities: crime, quality of life issues, home ownership, workforce development, downtown, and blight removal. And we will try to do that as much as we possibly can with the allotted time, as the president council acknowledged. Maybe we could do a portion and then do another portion later on. We'd acknowledge as the 4th largest city in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we continue growing. And with the influx of federal dollars coming from the American Rescue Plan, we look forward to making significant improvement to our infrastructure, which includes streets, sidewalks, parks, which would all know is going to be generational. Next week, you will hear more details regarding our budget with a rollout of the American Rescue Plan coming in October. Tonight's meeting is simply to share with you and the members of the public what our top priorities are, and of course, continue to collaborate and making sure that we work together. This agenda is intended as an outline that will allow us to work together to make Reading a better place to live, work, and play for the benefit of all. So with that said, I do look forward to a collaborative discussion. I'm going to ask respectfully that if you allow me to go over each section that I mentioned of the 6, and as I identify some of the ways that we plan on tackling these issues and concerns, and then we will open it up for additional discussion. But if you'd be kind enough to allow me to elaborate a little bit on each one, is that fair?
Yeah, that makes sense, Mayor. Yeah, because
Any questions so far?
No.
Any questions so far? We good?
Good to go.
All right, so the first one I'd like to talk about is about crime. We all know that unfortunately, as of recently, there have been some challenges with our youth engaging in youth and youth violence, which is very unfortunate. And for me personally, as a father of a set of 21-year-old boys, it hurts me. But these were not priorities as a consequence of these recent action. These have been priorities since the beginning of our administration. So although there has been recent concerns, this has not been just an outline as a consequence. So allow me that what we plan on doing to combat crime is to identify community groups, identify community leaders, identify non-for-profit organizations that can help us work collaboratively and work together. In fact, today I am announcing that we plan on creating a neighborhood initiative coordinator position, okay? And for the sake of better words, I'm gonna call it a community liaison officer. Now, this is gonna be paid by the ARP funding, which allows us to do so for a period of 3 years. So ARP funding is allowing us to obtain a community liaison officer, a coordinator that is going to help us gather all these organizations to work collaboratively with the city. Once the 3 years period is over and as funding is no longer can be used, if we seen that this position newly created brings fruition, we will find every dollars, whether it's through federal grants, state or local, to make sure that we can continue to provide that opportunity for that individual to continue to do what we hope will be a fruitful position to engage the community. We can create neighborhood resources which would compile information, such as looking for the problem areas, engaging in community groups. If a group that has been out of function, they want to regain, that person will help them. If a block association wants to start, such as, for lack of better words, a captain initiative, block captain groups, that person will help them initiate that as well to get started. So this is going to be something that I am really, really looking forward to, because again, as we know, crime cannot be combated by policing alone. I'm looking for council's input in helping me identify groups, because you know your areas better than I do. Although I walk a lot, I chat a lot, I engage in a lot of community activities, but council knows their individual groups that are available better than I do. I'm hoping that this creation of a community engagement plan will be completed by the end of October. Now, that doesn't mean that that position will be created by then or filled by then. I'm referring to the collaboration of creating a data bank of groups in each council area by the end of October. Questions,
Mayor,
concerns?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in real quick because I know all of council believes that crime is number one. It's our number one concern. And I think your outreach here is the right thing to try to engage the community and to involve city council with it, because I think we will probably come up with a couple ideas on top of it. So I know every member doesn't need to repeat what I'm saying, but we all believe this is a top priority. We know the chief and the force are doing as best they can. I think we've all said it time and again, the community has to be the eyes, right? There's 165 to 168 police officers at any given time in the city of Reading for 105, what I forget the number, 1,000 people. We don't know what kids are fighting on the internet. We don't know what problems are boiling up on what street. We need everybody to play a role, because even if the cops knew, they're busy with the daily activities in and itself, figuring out what happened yesterday. So I really like the outreach. I think come the end of October, if you have a good draft plan in place, but hopefully between now and then, members of the body can forward groups, names, ideas, thoughts, continue to participate with that. If there's any legislation that we need, I like the idea of a neighborhood officer to really re-engage directly with some of the community groups. That was in existence before. That helped a lot, I felt. So those are my comments, and then I'll go back to you, Mayor, then we'll open it up for any other comments.
If I may, I'll dare say, today I had the first meeting with a community group, which we're gonna start to engage in not only volunteer opportunities in our community, but where we're potentially gonna engage in conversation with the police department to see how these individuals could help out being out in the community, identified by shirts from their group, just to introduce the police to the community members. So again, going down to the street and saying, hey, do you know Officer so-and-so? This is Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, and just connecting and introducing. So we're gonna start that. I had the first conversation with a civic group this afternoon where they were very enthusiastic to view that possibility, where again, they will be introducing the police to the community just so that we could engage in relationships. I would also dare say that, as I have said in the past, I would seek every opportunity possible with the contacts I have made in the federal, such as our US senators, Congress individuals, our state and friends such as our state Senator Judy Schrank and both Representative Manny Guzman and Mark Rossi, to see what kind of opportunities are available for grants for additional policing.
Lucine, I think you were next. Thank you, Mayor. Go ahead, Lucine, then Marshall.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Are you ready for questions at this time?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. I appreciate you starting with a topic that is very concerning to all of us, especially as this is a priority summit. And I believe that you coming with a solution fills me with hope. And of course, I know that we all have representation in our districts of existing models and groups and entities that have successfully been doing exactly what you were talking about. And so, just from my district, which is one of all of them that come together to form our city, I have the 18th Wonder Improvement Association. There's a residents association. There's a business association. There's the South of Penn. There's Barrio Alegría. There are so many models of what we've seen, how our citizens have come together. And I know that those will be the groups you'll be speaking with because they are already doing the hard work. My question first is that what department do you anticipate this liaison would be stationed? Would it be a community development position or would it be a police position?
That is a very good question. We haven't gotten into all the details. We are aware that is available through the RFP funding as to what department they will be affiliated with. Again, we haven't completely engaged. So again, it's open for for conversation where it's best fits and where it's allowed to be fit. But I could definitely see it in community policing, but not to take away from the community policing position that's already assisting. There's additionally, policing is one department. This is an opportunity that is allowed to engage in community directly for the after effects of COVID.
And Mayor, that was going to be my second question, is how is this position that you're envisioning differ from or complement the current existing position in the police department?
Again, the policing department is again to identify police crimes and engaging in the community. This position is to engage the community in city government and volunteerism, engaging in different aspects of participating within the community. So it's different for the fact that this is available through the RFP money and not through the police budget.
And my final question for now, because this is an excellent, I think, initiative. Would there be consideration, instead of funding one full-time position for 3 years, to possibly fund multiple representatives, perhaps even from each district, for 1 to 2 years, to be able to really spread the outreach? I've seen one person in one component, one ward, really work for 4 years to try to gain traction. My concern is that one person is going to be completely overwhelmed, and perhaps, maybe considering like a part-time or per diem positions for each district representative would allow them to really reach out and fan out, build some foundation, and get about a year or a year and a half of a pilot. So then we could use that with the metrics to apply for funding. I'd ask you to consider that, Mayor.
Definitely, I will look into it and see what is allowable. Again, we have some rules and regulations that we have to commit to. This is one that I assure you that we looked at, and we know that we could proceed with. However, in your model, I will have to look further, but it's not off the table. Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Eddie,
On Strat, we have Marcia next and then Strat. Marcia? Marcia, you're muted.
Okay, I'm here. I forgot what device I was using. I wasn't using my mouse. So anyhow, thank you, Mayor, first of all, for setting a direction, because I think that's so critical, and to be able to recognize that our communities, our neighbors, sometimes people don't recognize themselves as councilmatic districts. They have other ways they define the community. So I just think we need to keep that in mind as we're proceeding. They might not recognize necessarily their council as the representative. So we need to work through that. But more importantly, and I've been really blessed that I've been asked to assist a grassroots organization in securing some funding. And we did a lot of research. And one of the things we found is a very effective model that's evidence-based, that actually is recommended by the Department of Justice, the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, and it's located in Philadelphia. It's called Ceasefire, you may be aware of it, and the Cure on Violence. And because Philadelphia is basically like a lot of Readings put together, if you're really familiar with the city, it's a lot of different neighborhoods and sections of the city. So they're offering to the city of Reading for us to come down. And when I say the city, it wasn't city government, but the people working on this initiative to come down and be able to see what that model looks like. They're very effective in engaging youth, doing a lot of street outreach, but they have a model that has a lot of different components. So I think if we can use what are best practices and what's worked and combine it with our ideas, we can really become a lot stronger. And then that also opens us up for potential other additional funding, because there's a lot of crossover. Sometimes people that are involved in crime, they don't see boundaries of municipalities. They just see where they're going to go to deal their drugs, where they're going to go to get after people that they're annoyed with. And as the chief very well pointed out, they use a lot of social media. So we have to take control of the conversation and not let it rest in those people whose primary goal is to create chaos, but for us to have our stronger voice. So any way that we can work together, and I will keep you informed as I work with the community partners, because I do things with wearing many different hats. And I've been really, like I said, blessed by that I can make those connections, just as other council members have other assets they bring to the table. So let's come up with a plan and, see where we can move ahead. And I think we've done this before successfully, so it's going to happen again.
Okay, and I want to remind everyone, we don't have to give every idea tonight, but you can touch on the big ones, and we can always continue to add to the plan by, forwarding it to the mayor and to the managing director. Lots of good ideas. I'm not saying nobody shouldn't say anything, but we have a number of items to get through, but this is the big one. So who has additional comments?
And
Honey?
may I, something from Marcia in regards to what she just stated. Can somebody from the administration attend any of those conversations? Marcia.
Okay, this was at this point not, because that's the next step. Once there was a concept paper approved, the grant's going to be submitted this Friday, and once that's approved, then that's when the dialogue is going to start occurring. So I'd say within the next couple of weeks, something will be happening. I just needed to help to be able to get some structure to what I was working on to help to get the grant move forward.
All right, Johanna.
Clear.
I think Strat was next, Jess. I can go after
Strat,
Strat.
you're right. Strat, you're next. Sorry, sir.
Okay, thank you. Eddie, first of all, I'm going to bring up a statement or a comment you made that I think is the most important thing you said throughout your presentation. The association with our police department, with our citizens and the community at all times. I remember when I was on, and people don't like to hear me say when I was a policeman, but I could tell you in my district who the people were that belonged there almost by name. And I think we need more of this. We need to get out and tell the policemen, we need you, please get out of the car, talk to the people. They'll give you information, but they want to be made part of the organization. And I think there should be better association between the police department and the community itself. Thank you.
Go ahead, Johanny.
Those lines. I'm curious to know how many relationships the Reading Police Department has with community-based organizations, because we do have a community coordinator in place, and I wonder if we evaluated and assess that person's performance, because I think I think to have a community coordinator per district would be ideal, because I think we want to start building positive relationships between our community and our police department. So I'm always curious to know if we've made time to just assess the position, how many contacts, how many connections they've made with our community, and how do we enhance that department. And along the lines of what Strat was referring to, we do have patrol officers. So I wonder if part of the patrol officers' duties is to engage as they're patrolling, say hello, get out of their car, connect with folks that may be out in the street, and so on and so forth. Because I think that's also very key. As you say, Mayor, we're all in this together. So if everyone does their part, we can get so much more accomplished. And then that brings me to also within the police department, the junior academy, right? Because I believe in the power of our young people, right? They're such great influencers in our community. And, if we create an opportunity for there to be, that peer-to-peer positive pressure, if you will, maybe the junior academy could play a major role with that. And obviously, Reading School District is a partner. All of its Boys and Girls Clubs. We have, what I love about our city is that we have an abundance of community-based organizations. So maybe it's how do we help enhance what they are already doing so that they can create much more of an impact, right? And then how do we hold them accountable as well? I often think about, and I don't know how legal this is or something we can advocate for, but what's the term, service in lieu of tax, if you will? Like, depending, same for churches. I mean, there's so many churches on every corner and every block. Like, how do we help them kind of like meet an immediate goal, right? Because if everyone is doing something on their block, then it kind of like it just helps us overall, right? So the responsibility doesn't fall on just one person or one entity. So I don't know if at some point it means, we get all the church leaders in one room and say, hey, this is what we need you to do. And this is how we're going to hold you accountable. And like, we will compensate, or we will help out your budget if you get this stuff. Like, create some milestones, performance goals, right? I remember a time in New York City, where I used to wear a different hat. Funding and grant opportunities became very performance-based. So first you perform and then you get paid, for example. So just something to think about. Because yes, as Lucy mentioned, there are a lot of entities currently, they're doing a lot of things. Because when you look at crime, it's like, it's like in school, we always talk about the bad apples and the rotten ones, but we barely ever really highlight the ones that are doing well. So when you look at our city, and when I look at the chief's reports on crime and stats, obviously it's reduced. So we have a lot of people that are doing great things. So maybe if we start celebrating, enhancing, highlighting them, that would also be an effective tool, right? Domino effect.
That's very good, Johanny.
Yeah.
I just, in regards to the stats of policing outreach, I don't have in front of me, but I would definitely follow up on it. If we could just make sure that we have that as soon as we can, I could email it to you. And that is very good information. I would like to know myself. It's funny, and I was somewhat smiling when you were talking there towards the end about, incentives and identifying community groups, and how do we hold them accountable if they want to participate? Because I'm going to be talking a little bit about that on my next topic. So it's going to tie it in. You'll see.
All right. Any additional comments or questions on this specific topic? It's obviously the big topic here of the night, but everything else is just as important because everything impacts everything else. All right. Okay.
All right.
All right, Mayor, go ahead, sir.
All right. So the next topic I had was the quality of life issues. I will start off by acknowledging that I have tasked community development within the zoning to find a consultant to catch up on the permits that we're somewhat behind on. They have been working on identifying some consulting that could help us out. I know that a new individual was hired, but they need to catch up. And I'm not going to wait for the new individual to take that all onto the shoulders. So I have tasked to find a consultant that could help us bring the permits up to date. I always, some in my administration, LISA directors would laugh or smirk when I tell them that I need that by Friday. So I've taxed them because I need that by Friday. So sometime next week, you're going to be hearing a little bit more about that. When I said a little while ago, Johanny, that it was going to tie it in, the quality of life issues with the assistance of the community, is because I want performance metrics. Perhaps I could have IT software where it's being updated for greater integration. So that person that is going to be potentially hired would also assist us. But we also have to remember, we have a Clean Street Initiative coordinator that I am going to be leaning on to make sure that we also identify and tackle and metric the quality of life issues. Any questions?
We'll go with Lucina, then Johanny.
So Mayor, in bringing a consultant, I'm wondering if you'll need them to do this, or have you identified where the pinch point is? Where is it that the overload is happening for the quality of life? For example, how many PMI, individuals do we have? Are they backed up? Where's the processing hitting the wall? Where are we not accomplishing what we need to?
I'd like to acknowledge that I have a managing director sitting next to me, Abe. So in case I need to defer to any question, which I'm going to do so at this point, do we have any of?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Counselor. And what I'd like to say,
You want to come in here?
what I'd like to say is that we have been challenged with some personnel issues in terms of individuals being sick as a result of COVID. And we've also had a tremendous number of incidents reported to us. The CSC has been overwhelmed. However, we have noted every single complaint that has been registered through not just the CSC, but the mayor's office as well. And it's just a question of assisting or seeking additional help through this consultant in order to get caught up. The quality of life issues are constant in any third-class city, not just in Reading, but any municipality throughout the Commonwealth. And it's just a question of having the right resources, the right people. And of course, when we have new individuals, they have to get caught up. We have to train them accordingly. And we ask for the public's continued patience with this. It's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to get caught up in a week or even a month. It's going to take some time. But I want everybody to understand that we're taking every single instance very seriously. We document it, we lodge it, we have a follow-up. And when the mayor's talking about performance metrics, we're also going to have a measurable system in place that will allow us to see where the progress has been made. And to your point, where the pinch points are, these are not easy remedies. They're going to take time, and we're going to be completely honest with you. We're not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and report anything with rose-colored glasses. These are difficult issues that we have to deal with, and we're digging out of very slowly. But we recognize how important they are to the citizenry here in the city, and we'll continue doing them.
And I will add that, again, I truly believe, it is my personal opinion, that zoning is the one that we need to work with very closely.
All right, Johanny?
It's funny, and Lucine for opening this up, because I realized that we are majorly understaffed. So at least it appears that way. And I know that Act 47 had a lot to do with that, right? We had X amount of employees carrying out certain roles and responsibilities, and now we've kind of dwindled a little bit. So I appreciate that we are exploring consultant opportunities to kind of get us caught up. But I question, what is, like, have we set some goals? Do we have a timeline? Have we put all these quality of life issues in some type of chronological order or priority in terms of what we're going to choose to tackle first, second, and third? And also, have we considered, even with the ARP fund, perhaps offering facade improvement incentives to both residential and commercial to help with maybe possibly quality of life issues, or even incentives to help, because maybe some people are financially burdened and want to take care of their, want to make the necessary repairs, but they can't afford it or whatever it is. So I'd like us to, think about exploring that as an opportunity, if possible.
I smirk because I mentioned earlier that in October we'll be rolling out the RFP. And that's something that I believe you and I briefly discussed about the possibilities of finding a matching grant for facade and so on and so forth. We're going to definitely look into that. In fact, I had a conversation with our manager and director this morning, and I asked them that that's something I would like to seek if it's possible within those fundings. So, and I was just told that it is available to be used. We just have to find the formula, how we go about it. But by October, you will have that.
I'm sorry, Lucine. one last thing, I'm so sorry, Lucy. And also with the Clean City Coordinator, do we have clear roles, responsibilities, and intended outcomes for that position? How do they enhance what we're doing? How do they make things better? Because I'm very unclear. I remember it's a very new position. I think it began this year, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just curious as to what's their function.
It's only been going on for 3 months. It hasn't even been filled that long. So we're working on the duties. But I can assure you that, it's just working, because whenever a problem has been reported, whether it's through social media, our office, or through downstairs to Citizen Service Center, that person is on top of it.
Okay. Lucy, you had another question?
Yeah, just quickly, I know others have questions, but as we're discussing bringing in a consultant, and it seems that you've identified the Department of Community Development where you would be targeting this. I would like to request that we see, either a position ordinance or the org chart in terms of that department specifically, and how from at the point of the integration of the redevelopment authority to now, the department's been organized, what positions, have been filled or currently need to be filled, and how that could impact then working and bringing in a consultant. And I ask this because in my experience, when working with a consultant, it's much like working with a volunteer. And so when you bring someone in and they are there to assist you, you are going to have to spend a considerable amount of time to be prepared and to give them direction. And it seems that there is a heavy load for the Director of Community Development. So I'd be concerned to understand, are we ready? And what capacity are we in that department to best utilize a consultant to come in?
All right. So again, in regards to the consulting, is because we evaluating that department and making sure that there is appropriate staffing, because to have a business wait over 45 days to get a permit for operation is unacceptable. I've said that before. I would say it once again. I will be on record any day of the week to say that that's unacceptable. The reasons as to why we're evaluating those reasons, and if we have to look at the budget coming forward to address that, we will. Okay. The consulting that we are seeking is not somebody that we plan to train. It's a consulting that is experienced and has an expertise in moving forward as they get appointed to bring the permits load up to date. It's not a position to be created. If that was the case, then we would just fill up a new position. It's not to create a position. It's to bring the permits up to date within 2-3 months at most.
So then, Mayor, if I understand it, maybe what I understand you're looking for then is really temporary staffing to come in and do the work that's not been done, not necessarily an audit of a consulting firm to come in and evaluate the department. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's a better wording, I guess. A consultant that is experienced on a temporary basis employment opportunities.
Then I would ask the administration to consider the latter. Once you feel that maybe you've gotten yourself caught up, I believe that department needs a severe audit for their capacity and effectiveness.
We're on that. We're on that. We won't wait. We're on that, and you will see it on the budget.
Yes.
Yes, Strat, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Strat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whoever we hire, this person must be a trained person. No one just is going to come in here and listen to other people that were here and make decisions that right now people are upset with. We got to be careful that this doesn't take place. this man, whoever he is going to have to investigate everything, every complaint, and see if it's handled properly. Because people, I'll be honest with you, on my district here right now, they are entirely upset with several issues. And I'm not going to bring up now during this session, but I must sit down with somebody because we have people now that are getting letters together and possibly getting them notarized and getting them to the parties concerning their complaints that they call in and they say they're taken care of and nothing ever happens. We need to be careful. Let's hire somebody that's not going to be afraid of anybody. He's coming in here, he's trained, and he must know what he's doing. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, Johanna, you had another comment, and then I have a comment.
Just for clarity, so we have quality of life issues, right? So we have the property maintenance inspectors, we have building and trades, we have zoning. So I'm going to assume we have like a list, right, that we've identified some of the issues, and then we're going to hire a firm or a consulting firm or what have you that specializes in these key areas, and then they're going to help us get up to date. I just want to understand.
That is 100% correct.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Donna, and then I'll go.
A couple things here. We had asked some months ago, as had happened in prior administrations, for a district by district assessment of what quality of life issues were happening. The numbers, the resolutions, echoing a bit what Strat said. I hear consistently, and there are names behind it, of John Doe, Jane Schmo came out, they said something would be done, and 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, nothing's happening. So we're seeing specific names of people, which is neither here nor there, and it's something we can deal with internally. But there's a lack of communication, which only is incensing people that they call, say, I have one today from Riverdale. I call, nobody answers, nobody gets back to me, nobody cares. I think we're all hearing that. Something has to change. The communication of these one-on-one issues has to be stronger, because when you have residents and property owners losing faith in the city government, that is, you have to work twice as hard to get it back. And I have one where there's been complaints and complaints. Someone fell through a hole in a yard when they were weed whacking, trying to help keep another person's yard done. Complaints had been issued about it. No one ever gets back to them. You can't expect people to be happy. And personally, those quality of life breakdowns that we used to get, I thought were very helpful to all of us in getting back to our
Yeah, my apologies if I haven't done so already. I do have a summary of quality of life complaints that have been identified. I would be more than happy to email it to you if I don't do it tonight.
District by district breakdown?
Yes, district by district breakdown.
Because we got those virtually every month, and that was very helpful because we could see where there was
You-
lagging of
Well,
response and things like that.
consider it done.
Okay.
I
And
have
better
I have the last month.
and
you'll get-
internal communication to our constituents so that they aren't left hanging for 3 or 4 weeks. That's an ongoing issue. I don't know if anyone else on council is hearing that, but I'm certainly hearing that.
Okay, done.
All right, Marcia, do you have a comment?
Yeah, and hearing all the good comments here, I believe we had a breakdown due to a change of administration and then the onset of COVID and how that affected staffing. But I think it goes beyond that. I'm not sure that everyone's on the same base about what really is a quality of life violation. And I think it would be interesting if you would speak to all the existing codes workers and be able to assess what do they see, so that we have a common standard, so that we follow what is said in our city ordinances as far as what's acceptable and what's not. Because I've seen a real breakdown just within my neighborhood. You all know I live very close to Cotton Street, which has become abominable at this point as far as quality of life. And we all know the broken window theory, that there's a connection between crime and quality of life. So we really need to be able to use those metrics. And I understand where you're bringing in the consultant, but I'm wondering whether we need to have a consultant to assess our operations and to come back with recommendations before we include this in our next budget, because I think it sometimes takes an outside person that might have experience with other systems to give us some answers. And it's not to be pointing the finger at anyone. This has been going on for years. I agree we need to get those reports, but we need to look at how the system's working and how we can improve it.
All right, good stuff. I think all the input's good. My only comments, code feeds the crime, and we all know the long story. So I think the administration is aware that this is a critical issue. There are some gaps that they're trying to fix. Anything we can contribute in the sense of ideas and thoughts constructively, and whether it's ordinance changes or budget needs, will be helpful in their efforts. We'll continue to try to take the posts and constructively offer input, and hopefully we can move this issue further ahead. I think just the fact that you're stating that there's some concerns and you want to address them tells us that you have the same concerns we do. So any comments on that, Eddie, at all before we move on?
No, I agree with everything that has been said. Assessments have been done internally. I want to make sure that we budget accordingly and we assess the needs to improve. I don't want to continue to hire consultants to tell us what we already know. So.
All right, go ahead, Lucy.
Sorry. I think particularly, Mayor, when we look at legislation, I've heard over and over and over again many times about the fines and the structure of our fines and infractions. So as you start to dig in appropriately, as you're going to do, please be willing to help identify and bring to us as a council body areas with the structure of fines as you move through that in ways that we can support and help the staff to do what they need to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be having a conversation with the community development director to approach legal and find out where we are with that.
Okay, if that's it for that topic, we'll move on, Mayor. I'll turn it over to you for the next subject. And the floor is yours.
All right. So the next subject I have is home ownership. The reason I talk about home ownership is because, as we know, as we all want it, and as we all committed to, we're going to be exiting Act 47, which means that we're going to be losing the commuter tax, which addresses $4.9 million. So we have to be creative of how we gain that. And we're not going to tax ourselves out of this, okay? No way, not in my book, not what I am able to. So we're replacing it with real estate tax revenue, which will be key, but not increased tax revenue. It's going to be increase in home ownership. Okay, I am hopeful to create home ownership opportunities through community development, partnering with Habitat for Humanity and NHS, to name just two, to educate our community. And I'm going to say this in Spanish, okay? Comunicar nuestra comunidad. I would talk to them in my language and the language they understand, so they could learn the importance of becoming homeowners. We would do so by promoting home ownership for residents, again, both in Spanish and English. We will seek what are the opportunities available, not only in partnering with these organizations, but if we're going to uncover any grant opportunities that we haven't done so already, to make sure. Now, the 4.9 will not be done immediately. And I'm also gonna be talking a little bit later on in some of my other highlights when I talk about blighted properties, about the home ownership as well.
All right, any comments or questions on that specific topic before you go, Johnny? I mean, we are still hopeful the state legislators will work something out to commuter tax, but I know that's a long shot.
I didn't want to be wishful thinking. I'm gonna,
And I hear you.
talk reality.
I'm starting to daydream, I think. Go ahead, Johnny.
So, and I'm glad you brought that up, Mayor, and I appreciate seeing, supporting those collaborative partners that we have for home ownership, because one of the things I enjoy the most, and Donna can attest to this, I think we enjoy this the most, is when we celebrate new homeowners. And Habitat for Humanity, NHS, they're doing phenomenal work in our community and beautifying neighborhoods and giving opportunities for folks to be homeowners and maintain their mortgages, right? They educate them. So I appreciate that. I do have a comment though. Have we considered perhaps maybe assessing our current employees and see who's a homeowner and figuring out if we can have some type of employee incentive program so that they can also become homeowners? I would say the same for our Reading Police Department. How do we encourage them to live and buy homes and stay in the city and be, invested in our communities as well? Yeah, because right, it takes all of us, right? We're all in this together. So just something to maybe think about and consider. Thank you.
You put a smile in my face. I love it. I just looked over at the manager and director and told him, let's send out an email tomorrow morning to all the staff members and find out if we can, without being unethical, precisely about home ownership, and if we can help them in any way. Love it, love it, love it.
Like we pay it forward. If our employees take pride and joy in owning a home in our city, I mean, they're going to promote that. Every person that walks into City Hall is going to get that treatment, right? That sense of like, yes, let me help you. We own this. We're here. It's our community. So it's just that sense of ownership is always very gratifying, and we can pay it forward.
Jeff, you're muted.
Donna and then Lucy. I was saying I can see the hand now. I never saw it before. Okay, so.
Well, actually, Johanny, we actually had that several years back, especially with the police department with R.C. Reading. There were several police officers who started out having homes. I know in District 5 there were a couple. I think if we talk with District Justice Alvin Robinson, he could probably remind us of some of those, because he had friends who had homes on West Greenwich and some of the other areas. But I think one of the important things with home ownership, in addition to Habitat and NHS, is incentivizing and rewarding deconversion of multiple unit buildings into single family homes. As we see the value, and we've seen up to an 18% increase in property values in the city over the course of 2 years, it's going to only increase property values for the folks who live there if we can incentivize deconversions. I had a really nice long conversation with Alan Schoen about it. Frank sat in on it as a representative of the mayor's office, with a whole outline of how a deconversion proposition could work. I think clearly the goal would be to take, say, a 3-unit, make it a single family, but you could also de-densify by maybe an owner-occupied. Somebody looks at a 6-unit and wants to take it down to a 3 and live there. There's several ways we can do this, and I think this has to be part and parcel of the budget talks, of land banking, of everything else to do this, because we know so many of the social ills, going back to crime and other social ills, are the result of people being packed into these small row homes that were only ever designed for a single family. And until we get that under control, we're going to be at a loss. So if we can incentivize deconversion, incentivize our employees coming to live in the city rather than commuting from heaven knows where, that's all going to be part and parcel of the city's renaissance as much as anything else is going to be. So I suggest we move as quickly as possible on deconversion efforts, and try to get that going by the new calendar year, because that that's going to be so important to densify, especially the inner parts of the city where parking's the issue. It would help with parking, it would help with so many different things. But please have an ear to that, because I've been asking about that now for several months, and I feel like I never get a response to that. So I hope we can move forward. And I believe we have it on the agenda for October 4th.
I can't agree with you more about the reconvention, how that promotes home ownership. In fact, I've requested to the Reading Redevelopment Authority to look into a lot of it. However, I'm going to ask you and task you, if I give you a little bit of homework here. You mentioned that there was a program in assistance a couple of years ago that I'm not familiar with. If you could point me to the right direction, I would be greatly
That was
appreciated.
through our city Reading. It was through our city Reading.
Okay,
That was part of the
and I have good communications with them. In fact, I met with some of them about 2 weeks ago. So
that was when it was first initiated with our.
all right, cool. Thank you.
All right, and just real quickly, you know, the $1 million that we have in the one line item for housing, it all started with that concept. I sat with Glenn, I said, let's get 20, 30 properties a year. Let's put them back on the property rolls as single family properties. Let's convert some. We can increase our tax revenue, our earned income tax. So yeah, I think that the model works. There are a lot of T's to cross and a lot of I's to dot to make that happen, but it certainly does give us the longer term, especially over a 5, 10, 15, 20-year period, cumulative return. Marcia, did you have a comment?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to talk about some positives just to frame this. A couple of things that I've noticed. First of all, during the COVID period, or maybe it was just something that was going to happen on its own, I've noticed a whole lot of more improvements in homes, people painting, people doing work, and it's been owner occupied. So I think there is some incentive out there. The other thing is more people are moving into the city from larger metropolitan areas. Now with all the telecommuting allowed, I think people are seeing that they can buy homes in Reading at a lot less expensive a cost than in larger urban areas. I think we need to take advantage of that and be able to welcome those folks who are willing to commit to a plan for rehabilitating property. I absolutely agree with what Don is saying regarding the deconversion. These homes are beautiful, and I don't want to call them row homes anymore. I'm calling my home a townhouse because that's what it is. When you look at it in other areas, in larger metropolitan areas, these are townhouses. They have so much potential. So let's do what we can do to take a beautiful housing stock that we have in the city and regenerate it. And I know we'll talk about blight in a few minutes, because I think there's a balance. We need to build on our assets that we have in housing and also take care of the problems so that they don't interfere with all our beautiful housing stock. Thank you.
All right, any additional comments on this specific topic?
Yes, Jeff. You
Oh,
said you could
sorry,
see my
Lucine, I
hand.
missed
Were
you.
you
I saw
ignoring
your
me?
hand and then it went away. Technology, I'm telling you.
So I agree with the comments that have been made. I'm not going to repeat them. Mayor, you said that the commuter tax we're looking at is about 4.9 million. Is that what you said? So
That's correct.
okay, so looking at 4.9 million, there needs to be a perfect equation here that we work towards, and it needs to be a big picture equation. We absolutely, as you recommended, need to work with organizations like Habitat for Humanity and others. However, we absolutely need to concentrate on creating the opportunity for market rate housing. So we cannot rely only on one certain type of housing stock. And I think, again, that just reiterates what some of my fellow counselors have been saying, on this point. In addition to that, I think that we need to, again, it's an equation. So we need to look at the mass or volume of how many really, what type of housing are we talking about here? Is it it's not 10 houses, a year. This is a high volume in which we want to see this return. And when Donna refers to rightly programs that, would encourage people, to do the deconversions or to consider moving to Reading and making that their new home because they can work remotely, then we need to look at how those programs work, those incentive programs, because if we're trying to project and make our base financially for what we might be losing with the community tax, we can't really offer tax incentive programs like we see in Philadelphia or what we're allowed to do as a third-class city, because then, we're talking about a 10-year gap before we would even be able to see a return in utilizing some of those federal programs. So again, I think that this is a perfect equation that I know the administration, with everyone you have in position that is knowledgeable, needs to focus on to say, what is this overall strategy? I know Stantec is working on some of that, and I've heard them, starting to present some of that, because all of these pieces need to come together so that we can start to really understand how to fill in that gap of that commuter tax that will be leaving.
Agree. In fact, brief math that we were able to conduct was that in order to bring 2.5 million, it was going to take 1,000 new homes. So yeah, we're totally aware, not shy to look at all the opportunities available and the whole picture.
And Mayor, I just want to bring up something that I learned and I've held on to when we were working with the Puma consulting firm. And that was, and I think addition to what we're talking about with the housing and real estate, the odd level, high level of tax exempt properties that not only are in our downtown, but within our city. And so we need to have that as part of our equation so that it's not just real estate, but then we're also looking at economic development in balancing what we have as a gross imbalance right now, in our city to generate some of those taxes.
I agree. When we started talking about downtown and I said downtown plus, that was part of the vision, to see a vibrant downtown that's going to generate a tax roll.
All right, additional comments, anyone? If not, we'll turn it back to the mayor for the next subject. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Excellent. The next subject I wanted to talk about was workforce development. I started actually monthly dialogue with GRCA on programs available to residents. We're developing a strategy that engages our colleges and universities and keeping our post-secondary students here. You may recall that I used to have quarterly meetings with the business community. Unfortunately, this little thing called COVID put a stop to some of those meetings. But however, I plan to re-engage those conversations with our business community, especially the largest as businesses that are seeking employees right now in such high demand, so that we could seek the opportunities to keep as much as our community employed here locally. So workforce development, the city is not in a position to be creating jobs, but however, if we could collaborate with entities that is going to help us so that we could keep our community employed, especially in this time that so many are seeking employment, we're going to engage with those relationships that we have started back in January of 2020.
All right, comments, Council Jahani?
development, are we speaking about training programs for people to learn skills to be able to work? Or are we talking about creating more local jobs?
Both.
Okay. And
There's
I
a
say this
center,
because,
as you recall, there was recently an article on a center that's gonna be engaging in such. So we're on top of it.
unfortunately, because of this little thing called COVID, we're like going through some interesting times as it relates to employment and people's lack of desire to be employed because, right, they've earned more staying at home. So it's just some dynamics that are taking place, and I'm trying to understand how we're going to navigate through all of this and, you know,
Yeah.
get people to want to get back to work.
So, you know, again, you know, developing relationships with organizations that could help in developing of the employment opportunities and the universities so that we could keep our kids right here. You know, I'll share very personal when my own son, which is just started his 4th year of college, it hurt me that he was considering going outside our community for post-secondary education. I knew that if he did, the possibilities of him returning back home was going to be very minimal because, you know, there wasn't much employment available. But I think the narratives have changed. So we have to both continue to build relationship with our universities so that we could find employment opportunities in those fields that they're getting educated on, in addition to the non-post-secondary education individuals in our community, so they could get training and workforce development available to them. So we engage in that as well, without getting into too much details.
Additional comments? Lucy?
So, Mayor, I'm glad that you're talking about workforce development. I speak with some of our major employers and industry leaders in, you know, my district. And what I hear often from them, especially in walk to work situations, is that they have jobs, they pay a good rate, and they cannot access and retain qualified and dedicated employees. And that's very concerning to me because, as Johanny said, we're in a very interesting time where employers are looking for employees, and employees, you know, are responding in some cases, and in some cases they are not. And I know some of that is on the federal level, so I won't waste our time talking about it right now. However, directly, that is what I hear from our larger scale employers, is that they really are finding challenges in accessing and retaining willing employees. And so we really need to work on developing the skill sets and, you know, other aspects of workforce development because there are jobs. There are very good walking to work, living wage jobs here in our city. We just need to connect and educate and train our individuals who do live here, who are willing to work, and connect them to those places.
Yeah, totally agree. And, you know, unfortunately, I have to agree with you. However, I think that that's a national problem. It's not complete. But that's why we're going to continue to engage in conversation with organizations that could help develop skill sets that those individuals need. When I was meeting with those, as you do, business leaders, major industrial business leaders, you know, from DECA to Genesis to Street Streets to Empire. I mean, we were having quarterly meetings with all these individuals. We just need to find out exactly the skill sets that are needed to hopefully bring some partners into our community that could help our community get educated in those fields. So there is a balance. You know, we continue to work with the school district. You know, we have the Muhlenberg Career Technology Center that could help mix, set those. So there's a balance there, to say the least. Also, let me remind you, recently we were considered in the top 100 cities to live and work virtually. So, it's gonna be a balance there, that we're gonna create more home ownership because people wanted to come and continue to work virtually, but we have to also find individuals to be able to do some work. So.
All right, additional comments?
Yeah, Jeff, Marcia.
Marcia, then Johanny.
Okay. And I think a lot of good ideas have been put out. I think as we move forward, we need to look at within this last year and a half, we've really not only lost momentum, we've in some of these areas, such as workforce development, moved backwards because individuals that have been isolated, that haven't been affected by the positive social norms that are out there as far as wanting to work, have been caught in a downward spiral. And we really need to be able to look at some innovative ways to re-engage people in some of the workforce development, look at our youth to be able to provide some input, because there isn't a lot of social norms out there that really promote work at this point. And again, I think we not only need to do what we did in the past, but we need to do it a little differently, because now we're faced with the challenge of what happened over this past year and a half. So I'd like to be able to hear from our partners what ideas they have about re-engaging our young people and our youth and people that are of working age into these jobs.
Johanny?
So, as it relates to workforce development, like one of the things that I've seen as a result of the pandemic, we have a lot of emerging entrepreneurs. So it'd be great to have some type of, a list of possible or vacant stores, office space, et cetera, because like I said, we have a lot of entrepreneurs. So as we're talking with Greater Reading Chamber Alliance, we should continue talking to the Small Business Development Center, because they're constantly doing courses for people who are interested in becoming self-employed and entrepreneurs. So if we had some type of database or, list of who we can refer people to who want to open shop in the city of Reading, right? Because they're also employers. So just something to keep in mind.
All right, any additional comments, anyone on this topic? All right, if not, Mayor, we'll turn it back to you for the next topic.
The next topic is downtown Reading, where again, I have been calling Downtown Plus. We're gonna be providing more resources via DCED and ARP funding. We're gonna be strengthening relationship between business owners and the administration. We're gonna continue focusing on safety and cleanliness, to say the least. And we're gonna be using Main Street program from DCED. In addition, we're gonna be finalizing soon a downtown strategic plan, which we plan to put into action and not to store in the shelf.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you, Mayor, for mentioning. I got a chance to be on the call today with Abe. I know the mayor was tied up, and Stantec, and we're getting an update soon. There's a community forum tomorrow, but before anybody sees the final plan, all the council will. But just still a lot of work to be done there. But as a body with the mayor's lead, we're going to somewhere early on have to commit some funds to that plan and have a very deliberate effort downtown. I know Johanny and Lucine, well, everybody's got their eyes on this, so it's going to be an important component for the downtown development. I credit the administration for taking the lead and initiating the plan. And the plan's going to get us about 80% there. We're going to have to build upon it. I know a lot of thoughts about the PPP and what the new guiding body will be, but we'll have chances to discuss that in the coming weeks. But I just want to make that reference because I was on a call today. So it's an exciting process. Downtown needs a lot of work, but it's got a lot of good momentum. And it's an opportune time. Boy, if we could get rail in here, that would really help, right? I mean, that's something that's very promising as well. So questions or comments, anyone for the mayor? Lucine?
Mayor, you mentioned a Main Street program. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna ask the managing director to elaborate a little bit more.
Yes, as many of you know, having worked with DCD, Main Street is a program that the state has developed over the years. In fact, the creator of the Main Street program was one of the keynote speakers last Monday during the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. So she was able to share some of the successes that have come along in terms of collaborating with business owners, with residents, because we often forget that there are people that actually live in the downtown area where the businesses exist as well. In fact, we have over 5,300 residents in our downtown core area. So the Main Street program brings not only that synergy that the mayor is talking about, but also qualifies us for federal matching dollars, state matching dollars, and also gives us another tool to communicate effectively with people as to how the downtown is progressing, and also putting resources together for safety and cleanliness, because that's what all the downtown business owners really care about more than anything else is, are they able to have their storefronts in a safe environment? Is it a clean environment? Is it a welcoming environment? Not just for business, but for tourism as well. So that Main Street program is going to be huge. And we've applied for that designation through DCD. And by the way, I want you to know that the folks from DCD had some really kind words to share with me personally last Saturday during their experiences here in the city. So we're building on all of that. And I look forward to making that Main Street program a successful part of the downtown.
To say that we have built a really good relationship with them because the fact that Abe has a good relationship with them, and the fact that for whatever reason they seem to like me. So you know, we're on it.
Well, Mayor, I'm glad to hear that. I know that you know, DCD was certainly alarmed when the decision was made to not reauthorize the improvement district. And so I'm very happy to hear that you've been fostering a strong relationship with them in the meanwhile. I'm curious as to what benefits a Main Street program would bring to those parties or that you just mentioned, in addition to things like an opportunity zone, right? So we've talked many times about the multiple layers that comes through in zoning. And when we're talking about taxes and opportunities, you know, all of these, again, have to be fitting together and working together. So first, what are the benefits that a Main Street program is going to bring to our downtown, to our employers, business owners, and residents who live there, and to our city? And how does that work in tandem with other designated zones that we can use to build further incentives?
In fact, I think that it would be only appropriate if we could put something together for community as a whole, a presentation in the Main Street. Is that something that maybe will be beneficial?
Yeah.
Abe?
Absolutely, no doubt. That way we could have individuals from DCD present with us, accessible to answer all your questions. And I will be more than happy to provide you with a fact sheet prior to that meeting as well.
Perfect.
All right, additional comments, Johanny?
So was first, right, Marcia?
Marcia was first? Oh, okay, I don't want to get in trouble. Go ahead,
Her
Marcia.
hand went, yeah, her hand went up first.
Okay. And I believe all the strategic planning and how we're moving forward has a lot of potential. My concern is because there's been such a long time that things haven't been addressed. We have many buildings, huge buildings downstairs, downtown, that are distressed physically. And by that, I mean the roofs are off of them or they're leaking. And I think I've experienced on council when I first got on board, when the 500 block of Penn Street wasn't taken care of. I'm sorry, it was the 400 block. Whitner's, the roof collapsed. All those buildings need to be demolished. My concern is, as much as we have a strategic plan, we also need to have an emergency plan to be looking at those buildings downtown that are most in jeopardy, come up with a plan to make sure that what needs to be taken care of is taken care of, so we don't lose the core buildings in our downtown, the beautiful historic structures. So I really would like the administration to come back to council and provide an assessment of the core Penn Street and those buildings that have concerns, and what the plan is to address them. Because we can't do all this planning about strategic if we lose what the heart of the downtown district is. And specifically, and I think people know this, 4th and Penn, the American House, the roof is no longer viable. And I could go on. There's many more buildings like that downtown.
I'll just say in short that, I'm hopeful that that's gonna be in collaboration with the Downtown Plus strategic planning, so.
But
So
Mayor,
easy.
you really need to say, it can't be part of a plan. It has to be, if you don't fix roofs, that's when buildings start falling down.
Well, but that's true, Marcia, but one of the things we talked about today is that there needs to be an infrastructure overlay, whether it comes as part of this plan or with the public-private entity that really takes this plan and runs with it, that we really identify infrastructure needs and investments, including leveraging where people need help to get some of that done. There's going to take some city dollars so we can leverage a ton of private dollars downtown. I think what the mayor is trying to allude to is that part of that plan is going to have that concept in there to aggressively identify, so we can shore things up, so we can build new things with it as well. So.
Okay, but Jeff, just let me finish, because I'm not going to let go of this one. And the reason why is if we don't have an assessment of the condition of those buildings, we can do all the great things that we need to do to build those partnerships. The roofs continue to leak. Okay, the building is stressed inside, and all of a sudden we have an unsalvageable building. I'm just asking for the bare minimum to be able to assess those buildings and incorporate that, and not wait until we have all the other pieces in place.
Well, it would be one of the earlier pieces you got to shore up your infrastructure so that,
Marcia,
to your point, so you
if
can
I
get
may,
that done.
If I may, if you have a specific, please bring it up to the attention of the managing directors. We have to make sure that we follow the proper protocols and the guidelines for enforcement. So,
Right.
I hear you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Anna?
Just to give, number one, some historical perspective, and I'll make it really quick about Whitner's and those, the old FARS building, things like that. And especially the old FARS building was a nightmare that was allowed to go, because that was actually one of the oldest buildings in the, underneath all the facade changes, one of the oldest buildings in the city that was let go. But certainly the entity that had the Whitner's building way back when, before it was knocked down, going in there with George Miser, who pointed out to me, look at that axe hole in the ceiling, that doesn't just happen. That was the ability of that property to be demolished was made possible by the neglect of the owners, because that was in a historic district, and otherwise that would not have come down. Pomeroy's was a different story. But I have to say that yesterday, when I sort of in tandem with what Marcia was saying, yesterday when I was at the opening of the Alvernia building with all of you, which ironically was the third time I was at the dedication of that building, from when it was CNA to everything else. Someone I once knew from my chamber days took me by the arm and said, look over there, look over there. What are you going to do about that, Donna? Why is that building allowed to have paint peel off? Can't you see that, Donna? Look at in the roof, American House. Don't you see that, Donna? Look across on 4th Street. Don't you see the condition of that building? Donna, what are you going to do about it? And I can say all I want to them about how the structure of city government is and our rules about HARB and all those things, but it was, what are you going to do about it? I don't want to hear excuses. You're in city government. You tell me how that's going to change in another few years. What about the broken window in that building that's facing Alvernia on 4th Street? What are you going to do about that? And I couldn't answer them, and they just sort of said, Great,
I
wonderful. Shook their
would
head
have
and walked away.
I would have had loved to answer them.
The cynicism is there, Mayor, that even though good things are happening,
Yeah, I would have loved to answer them. You know, I would have told them we have to follow the rules and regulations in place for proper enforcement. In fact, I'll dare say that I'm hopeful. Again, I am hopeful that soon there might be some new life there in that particular building.
But
Some
some of
new owners.
these
I'll leave it
buildings
at that.
have been owned for years by the same people, and we do
Yeah.
not do anything. And we have buildings that are sitting there empty on speculation by people who do nothing. You can see those windows open, not just one that's being worked on now, but there's one in the 500 block of Court Street. It goes back to quality of life. Open windows, broken windows, either bad roofs. All that contributes to buildings that then have bricks falling on sidewalks and people saying, what in the world's going on? So that person, I was embarrassed yesterday, and I couldn't give them the answer they wanted to hear because they felt that I wasn't taking accountability for it. And to them, I represent the city of Reading, and there's no excuse that I couldn't provide the answer. It was very embarrassing and humiliating, but I understood their point and I couldn't disagree. I'm just saying, it's great to be hopeful, but there's also problems that we have to, somehow their quality of life or codes, we have to start addressing. And God bless you, Johanny, for being a business owner down there. You have your challenge.
Johanny, you were next. I apologize.
So I agree with the body, and I know that, Mayor, you're gonna hold your team accountable because obviously they're walking the street. You have your inspectors on the street. You have codes on the street. They see it. They see it like we all do. So I know that you're gonna hold your team accountable. You're gonna hold these property owners accountable. And if we do have to leverage dollars, if we have to create some type of incentive programs or grants or what have you, so they can deal and finally fix these issues, I know you're gonna make it happen because you're committed to doing so. I want to go really quick to Main Street. We did have a Main Street program. I mean, I think that's how I might have met Donna, because early on when I opened my business, I would participate, and I was part of that working group session that actually
I was the city
brought Main
liaison
Street.
to it.
Yes, yeah. I remember the multiple community sessions at RAC. We were having work groups. We had Post-its all over the wall. So my point is, to Mayor and the administrative team, you may not have to reinvent the wheel because we had Main Street before. However, we need to assess why it didn't work because it was under the DID and it got dissolved. I don't even know why. So we want to assess and evaluate why it didn't work so that we don't make the same mistakes again. When we look at our neighbors across the bridge, they run a successful Main Street. They have a successful Elm Street. So I don't know why I'm sure I'm confident that we can do the same. We just have to really analyze what didn't work so that we can make things better and strengthen what we have. But again, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I would like to see, though, an update on the buildings that we own, like what's the status, what are the future plans? Also on the buildings that were purchased, that were being redeveloped, like the Madison building, like the Reading Eagle building. Like what I want to know what the plan is, what the timeline is. What are we doing also about some of the other vacant properties that exist? Again, timelines and goals. Thank you.
All right, additional comments, Lucine?
Exactly what Johanny said in terms of our responsibility, because we own them, are the Callow Hill properties. We cannot necessarily control in some ways private ownership and development that is happening. However, we have zero excuses, absolutely zero, for our gross neglect of the buildings at 5th and Penn. And whether or not we have moved through in the history of the RFPs and accepting or not accepting, bids that were put out is different than us being proper stewards to the buildings that we own and doing the work that we can and should be doing to them in the absence of our ability right now to be putting out an RFP. So, being compliant with HARB, being compliant with our own, infractions that we cite for other people. We are not compliant with our own regulations. That's unacceptable. And so that we're talking about it today, I really hope that it will be your priority for those properties, not necessarily, Mayor, to put an RFP out and to get developers in, but for us to do what we need to do as the owners of those buildings, whether it's take them down or whatever it is. I don't have the answer. I'm not even going to pretend to tell you what to do with them, but I'm going to say that it needs to be a priority for us to be responsible stewards and owners of those properties.
Short answer, I agree.
Thank you.
And I will add real quickly, you know, those properties have inherently been there for, you know, distress for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. And it's not an excuse for us not to take care of them today. But, you know, part of the hope was to get a strategic plan to really make them a lot more marketable as people see a more collective effort. It doesn't mean we can't do some things to protect them, but a lot of the damage that was done was already been done. I know there's been some efforts to protect the roofs.
And Jeff, that's exactly, I'm not blaming the current administration for the state of those buildings. Please do not take my statement the wrong way. But if we, because it's our building, want to prepare it for any developer, we have to prepare it. We have to do the things that we need to do to get it ready.
That'll be
have plants growing out the side.
And I think that's where an infrastructure overlay is going to be critical as we launch into this strategic plan. There's going to need to be some investment downtown in a lot of buildings, either getting rid of them or repairing them and being realistic of what can stay and what can't. And some of that'll be painful in and itself, trust me, because that's not an easy process.
You guys are gonna make me hurt my neck from shaking from agreement.
Johanny.
Oh, one other thing, Mayor, and I'm sure you're gonna be revealing this to us in the near future, but I'm a couple of things. I'm curious to know what kinds of resources via DCED and ARP funding will be provided to the downtown. I would like to know how you plan on strengthening relationships with business owners, and also how are we gonna tackle the drug addiction, the homelessness piece? Like, who are we going to partner with? What plans are we going to be working on to create a space for potential recovery or to address those major issues, because they're progressively getting worse? And also, I'm curious to know the status of the community policing. You know, what is their schedule? You know, what roles do they play in the downtown? And how do we work on just dealing with that? It's a major issue. I mean, now I'm seeing like people are just putting out chairs on the sidewalk and chilling, you know, and doing things that there shouldn't be. So just that's all part of downtown improvement priorities. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, those are real problems that needs real solutions. We will continue to collaborate with organizations that are going to assist us in the preparation of getting these individuals in the right placement. We will continue to talk with our police department to make sure that any infractions and unlawful ongoing situations that occur will be addressed accordingly. So yes, yes, yes.
All right, additional comments for the mayor on this topic? So thank you, Mayor. I mean, everything we've talked about tonight, it all goes hand in hand. You know, sometimes you guys hear me say you got to do maybe 47 out of 50 things very well, because if you do 14, they get diluted. So, you know, it's not easy. There's a lot of moving parts in the city. I know the administration's trying. We're coming out of uncharted waters. And every time in a city our size, you fix one problem, something else emerges. But I think the body's made it clear that they're full of great ideas and support, Mayor, for everything you guys are trying to accomplish. Lots of great ideas, almost too much energy sometimes, but it's all, I think people know where the problems are. I think they know where the solutions are. And Peter's administration is focused on these 6 big issues, I think, are the, you know, the top issues that will help impact the city. And as much as we can help you and your team get through these, we're here to help. I know I speak for everybody. And again, we got a very resourceful body as well. So we're fortunate to have each other. And, you know, Reading is a changing place. What's the population now? 105,000, 100,000? I can't remember. And I
Yeah,
think we all think
they're
it's a
saying
little,
95,000, but we're
I think it's a
clearly
little more than that,
based
yeah.
on school district enrollment, we have to be at 105. We have to.
95,912.
Yeah,
yeah.
but we have to be,
112.
we have to be well above that with the school district enrollment.
Well, and, you know, I'll say it one more time, and I know I've said it before. I know others have said it, you know, we may be the wealthiest city in the country when I look at our children, you know, and our natural beauty and our diversity and our architecture, and just a huge opportunity here. Just a matter of us continuing to work together to try to get things done. We've had our challenges. I've had my own challenges just in the last year alone. So any final comments, Mayor? Then any final comments or questions from council members? Go ahead, Mayor, please.
I have one more item
Right.
I'd like to chat about, and that is blight removal.
Gotcha.
We have started discussions about land bank with Greater Reading Berks Alliance and Berks County. We are also using CDBG funding and Reading Redevelopment Authority to remediate and demolish. In fact, I am having a meeting tomorrow with leadership of the RDA in regards to RFP additional funding to see how they could assist us in the blight.
All right, comments or questions on this topic? Go ahead, Johanny.
You know, again, another opportunity for incentivizing folks, right? Especially in the neighborhoods where the blight exists. You know, what would those neighbors of that blighted property like to see in that facility? And I don't know how this may be possible, creating opportunities for neighborhoods to maybe collectively invest to address the blight and turn it into something that can be profitable, productive to that immediate neighborhood or block, if you will. Another thing, Mayor, that has stood out as we've been speaking this evening, like we have so many resources, so many riches, so many treasures. So we have to get better at telling our stories and at branding and marketing, right? Because yes, we're the top 100. We were named one of the top 100 cities to live, work, and play. I think you mentioned earlier. I remember seeing this footage. But we have to tell, like, the narrative, right, has to change, and the branding and that strategy. Like, we have to work on that, because I think then a lot of these issues will be able to get tackled, because people, I know I always speak about this, and I know Jeff says it also, like, we want to have waiting lists of folks wanting to live and invest here.
Agree.
All right, any additional comments on this topic, Marcia?
Yeah. And I think we have looked at blight over the years. We've come up with some good legislation with the Blighted Property Review Committee, but we've also run into barriers. So I think we really need to do an analysis of what worked and what hasn't. And I'm going to give you a case study. If you talk about the community coming together, catty corner from my house is a beautiful old craftsman home that's been vacant for at least 7 years, owned by the bank, owned by the owner, back to the bank. Homeless people have lived in there. The garage is collapsing, causing the neighbor's garage to collapse. That's just a snapshot in a beautiful neighborhood. That's allowed to sit like that. It's just one example of how we can't depend just on our community members. We have to get our institutions, like our banks, who sometimes are the barrier. We have to be able to delve down more deeply and find out what is the problem that's leading to blight. That home, and I will place a bet on it, is probably at some point going to collapse onto itself, be a blight to the entire neighborhood, bring down the home value of the surrounding houses. One example. And we need to be able to laser focus on solving those problems and realizing that because the clock's been ticking for so long, we don't have a lot of time to respond.
Yeah, and Councilwoman, again, respectfully, I would ask you that if you have a specific address or location that you need to bring to our attention, bring it to the managing director, and I would assure you that codes and those departments responsible will do everything that you can within the law that has been in place and has been instituted by council.
Just in all respect, Mayor, I've been bringing this to the attention over a number of administrations, including your administration, consistently. So it isn't something that hasn't been addressed.
If I may, if you have brought it to our administration and no results have been given, give me a call directly.
Yeah, I will. And yeah, and I'll send you a picture of the building. Thank you.
Lucy? Well, while Lucine's queuing up, okay, there she is.
Sorry, yeah, I was pulling up the agenda because I think it's going to relate to the point that I was going to make. So I'm very happy, Mayor, to see land banking. I have been following some of the conversations of the Brooks Lions, and it's a proven strategy that can work. My biggest concern is then the listing of the redevelopment authority, and the management of land banking. I have been concerned from the very beginning with the integration, of the redevelopment authority into the community development office or department. This is not to say that I'm concerned of the redevelopment authority, of the chairman, the members, and the work that they're doing. So please don't misunderstand my statement. It's really comes down to the operations and capacity of what these entities can do, and whether or not we are really tapping into them and allowing them to be effective. I really believe that the city should not be in the business of real estate. And unfortunately, we've had some instances where, it was put forth in front of us and we had to make hard decisions. Moving forward, now we have a redevelopment authority, but we still really have not seen or been presented with how that integration looks and operates effectively. So when you talk about land banking and bringing it in, what is that really going to look like with the help of the redevelopment authority within the Department of Community Development? What I was trying to look at while I was trying to hit my mute button and the agenda was how many of your priorities presented today fall within the realm of community development. How many of the topics really are falling in one area? And are we then now identifying, are you identifying that really is the overall focus and priority of this summit? Is that the case, Mayor?
I lost you on your question. If you could rephrase that or say it again.
Yes. So it was a really long statement, wasn't it? So, my statement was the concern of the capacity of land banking as if it's going to fall into redevelopment authority and CD. So my question is, it seems like a lot of the priorities today are falling within the CD department. And am I correct in that? Is that a correct observation? And is that really where you are now starting to focus with this summit?
Yes, it is. That is my focus, to make sure that it's done appropriately, ethical, and legal.
And then to follow up on that, since it's your focus, the structuring of that department concerns me. And the fact that everything we're talking about almost today all falls under that one category. The city and the administration, that you oversee has many departments. We have police, we have CD, we have finance, we have, and I know that we're weaving in some of those other aspects, but it really seems to focus singularly, in my impression, on the Department of Community Development.
I think it has a little bit of everything, from quality of life, but he also talked about policing and the downtown, the job creation, home ownership. So there's different departments involved. I can assure you that, again, like I said in the beginning, we're in this together. I don't have all the answers. You know, I like to think I'm the smartest man in the room, but I'm not going to take that much credit. You know, I am hopeful that, you know, I gave you homework in the beginning by saying that I would hope that we will have council input on the community organization that could help us. So there's a lot of departments that work together collaboratively, although some of it falls on one particular department, is I'm not depending on just one department to fix all our problems.
Donna?
And I think when you look at all this, there's sort of a beginning and the end of a story to every single issue here. And much of it goes to quality of life, and much of it, we wouldn't be in this predicament, and this goes back years and years, if we had been proactive. I can think of a case, Jeff, within a block of where you are, there is a former law firm that was sold. People are living in there. There's mattresses on the floor. The grass is growing high. That's the kind of thing, if there's quality of life, let's get to it now while the building's still intact. The building's fine. It's obviously being bought by an out-of-towner who is using it and probably isn't even in town about it. Let's be proactive when we see things like that happening, and the community is seeing it before it gets to the situation that Marcia is talking about with the house cat a corner to her. The earlier we can tackle these problems, and the earlier we're on top of people, and we're strong about our codes. We're strong about saying zoning counts, quality of life counts, you know, appreciation of neighbors and living in a neighborhood counts, going back to the idea of community groups and community partners who will bring these things to our attention. The only way we can make a good start and a strong start beyond repairing what's happened over the past is to start now with the things that are in front of us before they get bad. Not just talk and not just studies. Okay, XYZ property on 123 Street, there's an issue, let's look at it, let's get to it, let's get it fixed, and let's let those neighbors know we care about their neighborhood and it's not going to go downhill before they have a situation like Marcia's got up there. And again, Marcia's has been years and years and years, but now we have one here, one example that's probably throughout the city, there's other examples, but let's tackle it first before it becomes more and more of an issue. And let's let people know this, that as property owners, they have the responsibility, not just to the property, but to their neighborhood. And if they don't want that responsibility, then list the property and let somebody buy it who does care about it. You know, this is endemic of what has happened over the years of not paying attention to early concerns. And it's not just, it's been happening for years and years.
I agree. At least I could say that I've only been here for 18 months. So, you know.
But now here's something that's happening now, and this is where your administration.
You know, definitely going to continue to.
But you can play hardball on this. You can say, we're not letting this happen, and you're not bringing this neighborhood down.
Well, and I'll come back, guys. You know,
I agree.
think the administration has mentioned that there are impediments with codes. We're trying to strengthen that. You know, part of the $1 million we put aside for housing was to deal with the backlog of the blighted property whole scenario. And the problem with that too was, you know, we were denoting all these properties as blighted, yet we didn't really have any resources to get them unblighted. So we put the $1 million aside. Well, the other side of that is we never could get codes to stop the bleeding. So I think the administration, you know, you can do both. You can work on what's already blighted, but you got to stop the blight at the same time. And, you know, it's going to take a little work. I think we all agree it's a priority. I think the administration has mentioned tonight to us, they feel it is as well. It really is. Abe and I have had the discussion kind of offline. You know, it's a problem that won't go away on its own. It's something we all have to tackle. And I think they all agree with that. And I think all the ideas are right on. The level of frustration that comes out, Mayor, obviously, you know, the council people hear it directly from the people, you know, see it in their backyard. It is, you know, it is the one thing that really hits home for people. And, you know, people live in the city, they deal with noise. That can be frustrating, but they deal with it. You know, people live in the city, they deal with motorbikes. They're not happy about. But when it's right next door, then people really, you know, you know how it is. We all get upset, and And it shouldn't be that way because it has an overbearing effect, not only in the property next door to us, but our property values, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're all on the same page. I think this is a good discussion tonight. I think these issues are things we can touch upon as well as we go through the budget, Mayor, where we need to shore things up. I think the idea is about multiple, community relations officers, if that's possible, those are things we can tackle. So that was the goal of this discussion. So, Johanny.
Steps, because I hear the body, and I too, as a part-time elected official, right, we get frustrated, and we have tax dollar paid employees who are experienced in their field, who are seasoned, and I'm not discrediting any of them. It's just what we need them to tell us. What do we have to do to strengthen their departments, to strengthen the capacity in the organization, so we can tackle these things and get these things resolved once and for all. So it's not a personal thing, Mayor. It's just that we're frustrated, right? Because I mean, and I'm not complaining. I love what I do. I love helping people, and I know the body, my colleagues feel the same way. But it can be overwhelming, and we're looking to you and the administration to just make it happen, get it fixed, get it done. So I'm interested in learning what are the next steps. What are the follow-ups? What's the timeline? What are we looking to achieve in the next month, 3 months, 6 months, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, we could reconvene and catch up and see where we at. Again, I talked about metrics. I talked about having engagement. I want to personally and publicly thank Councilwoman Marsha, because she already sent me the list of groups that I'm gonna be reaching out to. So yeah, this is very fruitful, to say the least, at least for me, because it prepared me, and but not only that, now you guys know where we at and where our thoughts are, and we could continue to collaborate. We had one thing that immediately came out. We're gonna have that presentation in the Cal for the Main Street. So, and like you said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm gonna seek for your guidance and direction from programs that you mentioned that exist previously. The facade that we talked about, that with the RFP money. So very fruitful, to say the least. I cannot be more satisfied.
Yeah, and Mayor, we can use this overlay, these topics as a guide, as an overlay during the budget process, and then maybe December, we can have another summit or a revisiting late December after the budget. Be a good Christmas present, right? No, but we'll keep these issues in front of us with you and your leadership and Abe's, and it's all we can do is keep talking, keep thinking, and try to get the best results. Marcia?
Yeah, and to build on that point, I believe there's an intersection between what we're talking about tonight, and as we get the departments to present their budgets to us, and how we look at the metrics to measure how we're making decisions to invest taxpayer money into these. So I think it would be a good question to be able to be in conjunction with the budget, is how are we measuring whatever money's being allocated. And I know that may not be able to be done quickly within this budget period, but I think at least we need to start moving in that direction. Whenever you go to apply for a grant, they're always asking you, how are you going to measure your outcomes? What are the metrics going to be? I look at our budget as being a grant from the taxpayers of the city of Reading and our other sources of income to the city to be able to do services. And I think that we can apply the same philosophy.
Any other council final comments, Lucine, and then we'll let the mayor close up unless somebody else has a quick comment. Go ahead, Lucine.
Yeah, Mayor, I want to thank you, because this has been such a great conversation and a dialogue, one which I think, we just haven't been able to have. And it's a lot. You have presented a lot. And even though it's just the priorities, there's so much comprehensively here. You and I have talked about this a lot. In fact, the last time we ran into each other and we took a minute just to sit down together outside of the DoubleTree and just catch up with each other. I appreciated that. And I'm going to continue to encourage you, as busy as you are and as busy as we are, we can't always have these comprehensive conversations, even though they're absolutely necessary. Please, please, please try, if you can, just to earmark the regular meetings of City Council and try to attend them, even if it's just for the administrative report, so that during those times, just for about 10 minutes, maybe we could engage in some meaningful dialogue like we've had this evening, because I do believe that this is a great way of working together. Thank you.
Good point.
All right, are there any final comments from council members? If not, I will just let the mayor make a final comment. Oh, 1 second, Mayor, go ahead. Technical difficulties?
Technology, man. You have to love it. Thank you, Councilwoman Lucine, because even for me, this meeting and preparing for this brief summit, I knew all of this that was going on, but to have it all in one page, it just helps me. So it was very fruitful, not only in presenting and collaborating and in the dialogue, but in also having it in my present. And in fact, I'm gonna make one request that we have a one-on-one once a month with each and every one of the council members. If we could start that tomorrow, you could start sending me your ability. I would love to, and we could have it at the DoubleTree. We could have it, no, not in Casa Su Casa. Then the newspapers will write about it. We could have it. I'm sorry, Johanny. I could not resist that one. We could have it wherever. We could have it where we could just have conversations and continue to create that synergy that I said I was hoping to see with each and every one of you, because I know, even though it's part-time for you, it's full-time for me, sometimes even double time for me, even though you may not see me, it is sometimes double time. We all want the same ending results, to see a better Reading. And this is our community we've grown to love. And we can only do it when we work together. We're not gonna get nowhere if we work on our own and have our own ideas that get nowhere. So again, if you could start sending me, have 2 homeworks. One, the list, Marsha, thank you, of different organizations, community groups within your district, so that I could reach out to each and every one of them. And 2, send me your ability so that we could engage on a one-on-one conversation just to catch up. And then with the permission of Council President, if we could do these kind of update summits and metrics, maybe on a quarterly basis or every 6 months at most.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're very helpful. And I agree with the comments that this was structured just perfectly. You can go down long, windy roads, but we covered the big topics and had some chance to discuss them. And it's what we need to keep doing. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, Eddie. We're all here to work together. So
Again, with that said, thank you, each and every one of you. Man, this is the best 2 hours, fruitful hours that I've had in a bit in dialogue with you all. So
yeah,
I know it just reinforces what I already knew, but unfortunately COVID had put a slight damper on that. We are all in this together, and we are gonna work harder to make a better Reading. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of council. I'll just say, you know, being a member of council part-time, it's a lot of work. You know that it's a lot of work for everybody, just from the budget, from the, you know, the constituents, from understanding all the stuff you're doing, Eddie, double time. You know, we have to try to compress into a couple hours a day in some cases. So everybody here works hard to make the city better. We really appreciate your time this evening, and Abe and Christian and Frank and everybody else who participated. Council members, thank you as well. And we will all talk soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thank you. Yeah.
Take
Good
care.
job, Kelly.
God bless and
Bye.
best wishes to each and every one of your families.
Yeah, now I'm in trouble. I forgot. something.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Good night, good night.
Good night.